At 3:42 p.m., our front doorknob rattled twice like a bad idea. Then the scraper sound of a key trying, failing, trying again. I checked the doorbell cam. Tan visor. Clipboard. A shiny brass key held up like a warrant. Association access, she announced to nobody and shoved the key in harder. Inside, my 6-year-old was asleep on the couch with a fever. The soup on the stove ticked like a metronome. The dog raised his head and looked at me like, "Is this really happening?" When the key didn't turn, she stepped back, pulled out her phone, and said the line that made my stomach drop. "Yes, 911? I need officers for a welfare check. The homeowner is non-responsive and refusing entry." I didn't call 911. I called the dispatcher directly. The form, the key on file, and the we moved into Willow Bend 3 weeks earlier. A neighborhood, with postcard trees and rules written by people who love clipboards on a cellular level. At closing, the seller slid over a packet labeled HOA Welcome. Inside was a form that made both my eyebrows reach for the ceiling. Key on file authorization. "Do you need this?" I asked the property manager. Carla, beige voice. Smile that practiced, "Nevertheless, it's for emergencies," she said. "Pest control, wellness checks, water leaks. Our volunteers can help." "Volunteers with keys to private homes?" I said. "It's optional," she answered, then added, "but expect it." We did the grown-up thing. Read the covenants. Nothing in the CC&Rs allowed the HOA to hold keys or enter homes ever. This isn't an apartment complex. It's not property management. We emailed a polite no, copied the state statute about trespass, and offered a compromise. Our garage keypad code would be in a lockbox for first responders only, via the fire department's knock system. That's how actual emergencies work. 2 days later, Diane, tan visor, clipboard, chair of safety, stopped us at the mailbox. "We need your key," she said like she was ordering pizza. "We're not providing one," I said, as nicely as you can say no to a stranger asking for access to your bed. She narrowed her eyes. "So when your pipes burst, don't cry to me." "My plumber will handle it," I said. "You won't." She walked away like a storm that had to go warm up. The knock you feel in your teeth. On Tuesday, my wife was at a doctor's appointment, and our son Ben had finally fallen asleep after a day of Motrin and animated movies. I put on soup, answered, emails, and let the quiet do its work. Then the lock rattled. I checked the cam. Diane held up the key like a prize. "Association access," she repeated, slid it in and twisted. Nothing. Her jaw set. She dialed. "We have an unresponsive resident," she said. "Someone might be in danger." I watched the live feed. She didn't look worried for a life. She looked offended by a boundary. I didn't want sirens. Ben flinches at loud things. Also, 911 isn't a dispute hotline. But once that call went in, officers were coming. And I didn't want them walking into a narrative already told for me. So I called the number I'd saved the day we moved in, the non-emergency line for our county's 911 center. I volunteer with the CERT team. I know the people who answer when the worst happens. I had their card on the fridge. "County Communications, this is Kelly," a voice said. "Calm, warm." "It's Mark at 124 Red Willow," I said. "I think you just got a 911 call from a homeowner association volunteer claiming a welfare check at my address." "I'm home. No emergency. I have doorbell video of her attempting to use a non-authorized key. My 6-year-old is napping." I don't want a hot response to a non-emergency, but I do want officers to come document attempted entry and misuse of 911. Kelly asked 2 questions the way pros do. "Anyone hurt? Anyone armed?" "No and no," I said. "I'll meet officers on the porch. I can text the cam clip to your secure link." "Do," she said. "We'll flag the call for a low-key approach, no siren, and we'll note it as HOA dispute. Possible trespass, hang tight." My hand stopped shaking the moment I heard her typing. Paper, well, pixels, beats adrenaline. The porch, the clipboard, and the calm two cruisers rolled down the block quiet as butterflies. No siren. Lights off. I stepped onto the porch with the door mostly closed behind me so Ben could keep sleeping. The soup simmered out a soft shh behind me. Diane stood at the walkway, arms crossed like a drawbridge. "Finally," she said. The first officer, early 30s, gentle face, raised his hand in that, "I'm here because I have to be, not because I want to be" way. "Afternoon," he said. "We got a call about a welfare check at this address." "From me," Diane said. "From her," I agreed, "and a call from me to dispatch. No welfare issue. My son's sleeping inside with a fever. I'm the homeowner. Here's my ID. Here's my deed on my phone. And here's the doorbell clip of her attempting entry with a key she's not authorized to have." He looked at the ID, glanced at the recorder on his shoulder, and watched the 19 seconds that matter. The key, the rattle, the association access line. His eyebrow did the math. He turned to Diane. "Ma'am, do you have authorization to enter this home?" She lifted the brass key like a relic. "We keep keys on file." "Do you have written permission from this homeowner?" he asked. "We expect cooperation," she said. "That's a no," he said, not unkind. She bristled. "What if he was lying on the floor?" "Then we break the door with a fire axe," he said flatly. "Not with a brass key you printed a policy for." The second officer stepped up and angled his body so the conversation wouldn't carry into the house. That small kindness almost broke me. "Sir," he said quieter. "Dispatch said your kid's asleep?" "Fever," I said. "If he wakes, he screams first." "Copy," he said. "We'll keep it short." He pivoted back to Diane. "Ma'am, welfare checks are for emergencies. You told 911 unresponsive. Did you see a person in distress?" "Didn't answer when I rattled the lock," she said. "That's not unresponsive," he replied. "That's privacy. The line you draw." Once, I took a breath. Addressing the officers more than Diane, I said, "I want to file an informational report for trespass attempt and misuse of 911. I'll pursue it with the HOA in writing. I'd also like your case number for a complaint to management." "Done," the first officer said. "We'll document that she attempted entry without consent, and that there was no emergent condition. Dispatch already has your video." Diane snapped, "We can enter common elements." "This is his front door," the officer said. "It's not a common element. If you believe there's a leak, you call us or the fire department. You don't key into a house." She tried the last refuge of the doctrinaire. "I'm on the safety committee." "And I'm on the clock," he said, patient cracking a little. "We're done here." Ben stirred behind me and let out that first little dream cry that means the storm is coming. The officer heard it and nodded toward the street. "We're going to step away so your kid can sleep. We'll email the report number." I thanked them like they'd handed me sleep, which, in a way, they had. Before he left, the first officer turned back. "For future HOA stuff, save this non-emergency number," he said, and he read the same number that sat on my fridge. Sometimes the call that fixes it is the one before the siren. The meeting where, nevertheless, finally lost. The HOA called a special session 2 nights later, which is HOA for, "We need to pretend we knew this all along." The clubhouse was fuller than I'd ever seen it. People who hadn't come to a meeting in years showed up to watch a form get set on fire. The HOA's attorney, new face, expensive sigh, took the mic. "The association has no authority to hold keys to private residences," she said. "We will destroy any keys on file. Volunteers may not enter homes, attempt entry, or represent that they can. For emergencies, call 911. Do not exaggerate. To get a faster response." Carla, beige voice wobbly, added, "We will also stop asking for keys." Diane, visor forward like a ship that refuses to learn the reef, said, "What if there's a leak?" "Then you call the fire department," the attorney said. "Or you wait for the homeowner. You do not key into their bedroom." A hand shot. up in the back. Jerry, who makes brisket and declares truth like a sport, said, "How about we start with don't rattle someone's lock if you don't live there?" It got a laugh. It also got a vote. Key on file form withdrawn and destroyed. No entry policy. Volunteers outboard prohibited from attempting entry. Observe and report only. Policy. Volunteers trained on when to call emergency versus non-emergency. Misuse subject to removal. Welfare check protocol. If someone is worried and no one answers, call non-emergency and wait for police fire. Not HOA. I raised my hand. "One more," I said. "An apology." Evan, the EI, board president, who looked like a man tired of being led by a visor, turned to me. "We're sorry," he said, and he sounded like he meant it. Soup, sleep, and the quiet. You earn, the night after the meeting, we ate that same soup at our kitchen table, the one that had sighed on the stove while the world tried to make noise. Ben was coloring a dragon with too many teeth and just enough confidence. "Did the key lady say sorry?" he asked. "She did," I said, "and she can't rattle our door anymore." He nodded, considered his dragon, and added polka dots. "Piece looks like children coloring improbable lizards." Later, I texted Kelly at dispatch the case number and a thank you. She replied with a smiley, "I'm pretty sure dispatchers are trained not to use, but some moments earn smileys." I also printed 2 pages and taped them inside our pantry door. County non-emergency line, HOA's new no-entry policy. Every home should have a fire extinguisher, an extra flashlight, and the number you call before a siren. What a brass key taught a neighborhood a key is not authority. HOAs cannot demand or retain keys to private homes. If yours asks, say no in writing. When is for emergencies. Misusing it to win a rules dispute is both wrong and dangerous. Learn your non-emergency number and use it. Calm beats noise. Calling dispatch directly turned a false narrative into a documented reality before it snowballed. Fix the form, not just the moment. Destroy bad policies. Adopt clear no entry and when to call rules. Train volunteers. Protect sleep. Like treasure. If you've ever rocked a feverish kid, you know, the quiet you keep is the love you show. If you like stories where boundaries hold and calm voices win, hit subscribe, drop a like, and share your wildest HOA moment below. I'll bring the numbers. You bring the receipts.